Hi guys, before the video starts, please check out my Movember campaign, the details for which can all be found in the description. You don't need to donate, but raising awareness is really the end goal of this, so please check it out. When I woke up this morning, I knew what I wanted to do. I was going to make a video about the most valuable player, essentially trying to look through all of CSGO's HLTV MVPs and find which one had the most individually dominant run. I wanted to see who'd had, the most hard carriest of tournaments. The player who'd had the worst teammates, but had persevered and individually performed at such a high level that their team either won the tournament or in some cases finished second, and they were awarded MVP. So I set about comparing every single MVP campaign in Counter-Strike history. Here's how I chose which ones would be awarded the most value. I would consider first, that player's individual rating for the tournament. Second, the second highest rating from any player on their team. And thirdly, the average rating of the other 4 players on their team. To save myself a lot of time, I started with the most dominant players I could think of. Of course, the names that spring to mind are Simple, Ziwu, Device has 15 MVP medals. Surely he's got some standout performances. Then a few others like Get Right, Olofmeister, Kenny S, Nico, some players who we remember being dominant in their own time periods. I stuck all these numbers in a spreadsheet and started color coding them to find out which ones were the highlights. At this point I realized that I didn't actually know who the MVP was for every single Counter-Strike Global Offensive tournament there ever has been. So I expanded my search a little bit. I started looking for players who have MVP medals using Liquipedia's very handy tool that tells you every single player which has an MVP medal, and I started going through their stats, these players, looking for little indicators that they'd had a great tournament, and then taking a deeper look. Forest had an absolutely insane tournament at the Tech Labs Cup 2013. I'm not sure you've ever heard of that one. It's one of the few tournaments where Get Right didn't actually perform as well as Forest, if not better, which he did in almost every other case. Electronic won the MVP at the Ice Challenge in 2020, whilst finishing as a runner-up, which, as I've noticed throughout all this data gathering, is quite a good indicator that he actually had a nuts tournament. If you finish second and get MVP, you have to do something special. Then I found something I wasn't quite expecting. People who have only been watching Counter-Strike for the past 2 to 3 years may not realise how good this player used to be, and even those of us who've been watching since 2015 probably haven't even heard of this tournament. After all, the most viewed video I could find for this tournament had 8.3 thousand views and was in German on YouTube. But we have all missed one of the most dominant tournament runs any player has ever put together. At DreamHack Valencia 2014, there were 3 teams worth talking about. Hellraisers, who had that year bought the legendary Astana Dragons roster, which included Markelov, Adren and Dosia, who at the time were all massive names and quality performers. Don't want anyone to judge these guys by who they are now. Back then, they were massive names. Then there was also LDLC and Epsilon, who were both French-speaking rosters, can't forget the Belgians, and the French scene was a bit of a weird place at the time. Epsilon had Shox, who was arguably the best French player at the time, whilst LDLC had Apex, Happy and Kaylee, or Kukli, or Kukwili, whatever the hell we're supposed to pronounce it as, who were also considered amongst the best France had to offer. The team I want to focus on is Epsilon, the player is Shox. Epsilon began the tournament by beating 5 random Portuguese players 16-13, Shox ending the match with a 1.27 rating. Good start, but tame in comparison with what is to come. Quick side note, this will all be rating 1.0. Everything prior to February of 2016 has only got the old rating system applied to it. I assume HLTV didn't have the stats available to make their full rating 2.0 available on games before that point. The team's second and final best of 1 was against a group of French players and 1 Belgian player. Shox got 36 kills, a 1.57 rating, which is insane, yet I'm going to gloss over it because it's pretty tame, and Epsilon progressed to the knockout stages. In the quarterfinals, Shoxy and the boys were matched up with Overgaming, 4 relatively unknown Spanish players, and Lowell, who you'll remember from Mouse Sports that one time. Epsilon dispatched them with a comfortable 2-0 win. Shox had 57 kills, a 1.60 rating, and was doing everything. He was AWPing, rifling, finding entries, winning clutches, He truly was a complete player at this point, and an all-round superstar. The semi-final is where Shox went God mode. Epsilon were facing Hellraisers, and were not favoured to win. The first map went to Hellraisers, a 16-9 affair that led many to believe, yeah, this is probably going to be over soon. If not in 2, probably in 3. Epsilon just don't have the firepower. Shox also had a quiet game on Mirage, and no one else on the team had the quality to step up and carry it in his stead. No matter, there were 2 more maps to come. On Inferno, both Shox and Keo were on point, combining for 54 frags and a 1.53 and 1.36 rating respectively. This series is going to map 3. When the Zoomers ask us why we have so much love and respect for Shox, even though he's been kinda shite for the past 2 years, just send them the link to the VOD of map 3 on Dust 2. Don't worry, it doesn't take long to watch. Their attention span will hold. Epsilon demolished Hellraisers 16-0, with Shox just taking any duel he wanted and winning it. He opened rounds, he closed rounds out. I have never seen a man have his way with 5 Eastern Europeans like that since I closed in private browsing. When the 20 minutes the map lasted were over, Shox had 30 kills, 23 by headshot, and 3 deaths. In 7 of the 16 rounds played, Shox got the first kill. Shox rating for this map was 2.95. What in the ever-loving fuck? Shox finished the semi-final with a 1.69 rating. The second best rating on his team belonged to Kiyashima, who managed a technically above average 1.01. 1.00 is average. Unfortunately for everyone, the final was a letdown. Those of us expecting a battle instead got an uninspiring 2-1 victory for LDLC, whose 3-star players, Apex, Happy and Kaylee, maybe was cheating, we don't know, was enough to subdue Shox and turn him from a god back into a man. Still, for his outstanding performances in the tournament, Shox was awarded the MVP, even though his team finished second overall. If we go back to the spreadsheet I created to compare all the tournament MVP winners, few can rival Shox's performance in Valencia. His 1.43 is one of the highest, and all of those who are able to match it or even surpass it always have a teammate assisting them who is performing at an elite level. Nobody on that Epsilon roster managed to average a 1.00 rating for the entire tournament. None of them even managed to be average. Sure, they each had maps where they performed, but the only bright spot on that team was Shoxy, and man did he shine bright. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you liked the video. It helps me out a lot. I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.